Freedom! Do you remember that? My first memory of it was back in August 2020 at one of those demonstrations in Trafalgar Square. Because, like, freedom, it sounds like really good, doesn't it? But do we all use freedom to describe the same thing? Are there different definitions of what it is to be free? Because my feeling is that um, I think one of the problems that we've got in this kind of truth community is that people have got different ideas about what it truly means to be free. So what I'm going to do today is just ask you some questions, set out a few scenarios, and ask you whether you think that the people I'm portraying here are free or not. So, like the first one, imagine some 25-year-old bloke, and he still lives with his mum at home, and his mum decides, he goes out to work. This guy, right, the 25-year-old, but his mum decides how he only gets 25% of the money that he's earned to spend on the things that he wants to spend. The other 75% is taken from him by his mum, and his mum decides what he's going to spend his money on. Now, is that person free? I think most people with half a brain cell to rub together would say, no, that 25-year-old bloke is not free, and he's actually being abused, isn't he, by his mother. So I guess one aspect of freedom is what you could call economic freedom, which is your ability to choose like how you want to earn your money. Now, at the moment, we live in a society where the government gets involved, and we have organisations like the BBC who practice racism. Let's just call it what it is, and certain jobs are not available to certain ethnicities. And then the other aspects of economic freedom, I guess, would be you being able to choose what you want to spend the money that you've earned on. Whether you want to buy a new car every 3 years, or whether you want to prefer to go on more holidays instead, or that's a crucial aspect of freedom, I would say, is that you have autonomy over how you want to decide how to spend your money. But what we have, just to sort of set this all out, is that we don't have economic freedom, because, like, even for me as a humble teacher, I was paying a marginal rate of income tax of 40%. When I spent my money, the government was taking another 20% in the form of VAT. When I was buying things like petrol for the car, half of what I was spending on petrol was going straight into the government's pockets. And then the government uses my taxes that they've taken from me. It wasn't a choice, by the way. There's no choice about this, because if you don't pay what the government says that you owe them, they throw you in the cage called prison, and that they keep you there until you hold you hostage there until you pay the ransom money. That's basically what they say you owe them in tax, plus interest that they charge on your unpaid tax bill. So for me, these things it doesn't seem, well, we're not economically free. This is just a fact. We've all grown up in societies where there's no economic freedom. The government decides how the money that you've earned, the lion's share of it, over 70%, will be spent, not you. And what I put it to you is that the democracy gives it a thin veneer of respectability that, oh yeah, but like, in England, 2 out of 10 people voted for Starmer, so it's all okay then for Starmer to decide how he's going to spend 70% of your income, which is just ridiculous. So we do not have economic freedom. So what's the solution to this? Like, what worries me quite a lot about many many people who would regard themselves as being awake, is that they just think the solution is that you switch one abusive mummy, with a blue hair ribbon, let's say, for another mummy with a red hair ribbon. Just switching politicians. It's and then you get other people who are just going along with criminality. They think, well, if I vote for Labour, what they're going to do is, like this Gary's economics, they're going to tax the rich, and then the money the looted money, the stolen money that the government steals will be given to me rather than this other group. So another element to all of this is that we've been encouraged to go along with something that's deeply, deeply immoral, which is the state demanding money from people using violence or the threat of violence. Pay us what we say you owe us, or we throw you in a cage and we keep you there until you pay up. Now, that is not a free society. That sounds very much like slavery. And all democracy is that you get to choose your slave master. So what's the solution? The solution is that we need to totally abandon this big government model. In the future, there's no benefits, there's no welfare, there's no nothing. Basically, every single person uses their abilities to work and help others. And the act of work, incidentally, it should be voluntary. In a free society, it's voluntary. So you choose what you want to do, you choose whether you want to transact with somebody. If you do, it's probably because both parties are benefiting from it. Indeed, if one party, either the buyer or the seller, stopped benefiting, maybe because they felt that there was exploitation, then the exchange would stop, and that person would find something else to do. That's how it's supposed to work in a free society. So we don't have economic freedom. And as I say, the only solution to this is that we need a society where we decide what we're going to do for a living, and we decide how we're going to spend the money that we've earned helping other people in the free market. And then we cast spending votes in a daily economic election. So stuff that we want more of, we cast more spending votes in favour of those things. The prices of those things go up, supply and demand, the prices get bid up like an auction. Those higher prices make whatever it is more profitable to supply. So for reasons of self-interest, you'll have other people in society who decide to go into business and produce more of the things that we want, because there's more profit on offer for producing those things. And the opposite is the case for things that we don't want so much anymore. The demand for those falls, the price falls, they become less profitable to produce. So entrepreneurs leave those industries for reasons of self-interest and transfer their resources into producing things that we, the consumer, wants, rather than things that Keir Starmer, the dictator, wants. So again, this will come as a massive shock to people, but you actually don't need anyone, you don't need central planners to organise society. This is a statist mentality that underpins fascism and communism. In a true free society, there is no central planners. What we have instead is this thing called emergent order, or the invisible hand of the market. And it's worked very, very well. The invisible hand of the market transformed South Korea, it transformed Hong Kong, countries that were dirt poor prior to the free market. It also transformed Britain and America in the 1950s and 60s into the richest country on the planet. So this system most definitely does work. What doesn't work is politicians deciding what's going to be produced, how it's going to be produced, and then distributing the products to winners and losers, basically, in society. And it also massively compromises freedom. So in those societies, what you actually get is that people just give up, because human beings have got a great desire to be free. So God created human beings with free will. We're definitely not robots. And you can tell that this is true by looking at how desperate the globalists are to remove our free will. So all of this stuff, Elon Musk, brain chip, and Noval Harari wanting to hack our genetic instructions, this shows you that we actually do have free will. And what we're supposed to do with our freedom is to use our talents to serve other people. Jesus also said something very interesting about freedom. So this is in the book of John, chapter 8, verse 31. So Jesus said to the Jews who believed in him, "If you continue to accept and obey my teaching, you are really my followers. You will know the truth, and the truth will make you free." They answered, "We are," this is like some Jewish people that Jesus was talking to. So the Jewish people said, "Well, we're Abraham's descendants, and we've never been slaves. So why do you say that we will be free?" And Jesus said, "The truth is everyone who sins is a slave to sin." So these, like, I don't know, you could think about, I'm just breaking off here, that, think about some modern sins that people are slaves to, like greed, vanity, pride, gluttony, selfishness, like loads of things really. So I think what Jesus is saying here is that to be free, we need to use our free will to choose to be no longer slaves to these things that we can call sins. And what we should do is use our God-given free will to treat other people in a manner that we would like to be treated ourselves. As I've just said a minute ago, to use our talents in the service of others. And the free market actually does that automatically. It incentivizes each and every one of us to serve one another in a way that the kind of slavery system of Starmer, Tony Blair, Boris Johnson doesn't. What that encourages is tyranny. It's like, if you're a truther who thinks that all that's needed is just we need to get rid of the World Economic Forum and have some different politicians, but we still have taxation and we still have government spending, we still have theft essentially, then legalise theft through the tax system, but it's still theft because when people are faced with tax demands, there's no choice there. It's basically extortion using violence or the threat of it. So we need to move to a society where people are economically free. So we choose who we're going to work for. We choose how we're going to spend the money that we've earned serving other people. And that's what freedom is. Freedom is the opposite of the state. The state is the problem. And until we actually understand that, I'd say, 51% of the population actually understand that, then we've got a chance of being truly free people. At the moment, I don't see that at all. What I do see is people squabbling between the red team and the blue team, or maybe some other team that doesn't exist yet. But all we need, the solution to all of our problems, is just a new set of non-corrupt politicians, which is just hopelessly naive, because the type of power that a politician has attracts the very worst of humanity. Imagine what sort of person would be attracted to a job where they've got people with guns wearing uniforms at their disposal that they can use to impose their will on other people. It's not going to attract good people, is it? People that love freedom. Anyway, that's a very powerful argument, incidentally, for not voting. So that's all I want to say today. It's a very, very windy day. I tried to go to the beach, but the waves were just so big. So yeah, that's all I want to say today. So God bless.